Good morning and welcome to the Namaste Center. It's May 18th, 2014. And for those of you that wonder why I do this each week, why I say the date, it's because it's being videotaped and people do actually watch this. And not many, but some do. And when I don't put them on, they're like, where's the videos? So there's 2 or 3 people that actually do enjoy this. So, or maybe not enjoy it, they just do it. But whatever, that's why I say the date each week. I'm sure that each and every one of you all knows the date already today. But last night, it was interesting. I never watch these after I do them. Who likes to look at themselves on camera? I mean, really. And so I just download them, or Brian does, or Roland helps with it. We get it on YouTube, and that's the end of it. I have no idea what I look like, what I do. But last night I decided to send a couple of these to a friend of mine. And I was looking through the files here there's well over 100 of these, not only of myself, but people who have spoken here over the past few years. So I picked out 2 that I felt would be helpful for this person, and maybe they'd enjoy it. And I couldn't believe how much my hands move and how many times I take my glasses off. I was like, oh my God. So today I'm feeling a bit like, okay, lock the hands in and keep the glasses on. Let's see if I can make it happen. I don't know. We'll see. But, it's just, I remember a few years ago I was going through some coaching training, and I was chosen, along with 3 other ladies, to participate in a big seminar with some pretty well-known speakers. And so we went for our practice run. And the 2 of the gals that were with us, they were pretty seasoned, and they'd been through the training, and they were telling me what I had to wear. They looked at me and, you're not going to wear that, are you? And I'm like, well, maybe. And they said, no, you have to wear a business suit. And I said, I don't own a business suit. And then, a business suit, how funny. And then, but it's good for those who like them. I just don't. And then it was how to position myself on the stage. And you got to walk over here, and you got to pause, and you got to gaze into someone's eyes, and then you come back and you got to memorize your talk and all this. And I was just there like a deer in the headlights. I couldn't move. I just couldn't move. And they got so mad at me. I mean, you're not taking this serious and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, it was what it was, and the seminar was canceled. But that's okay. I'm sure they're doing well, and I know they're doing well, and I'm happy, and I move a lot, and I play with my glasses a lot, and I move my hands a lot, and I wear this, so what do you have? So besides that, on to today's discussion. Every week, not every week, but every time that I get with my Alliance of Divine Love ministerial students, we usually start the class, the first part of the class, checking in, because a big part of becoming an ADL minister is about preparing ourselves spiritually. And if we're carrying around a lot of garbage, which we all tend to do, we're not making our light as bright as it can be. We're not allowing ourselves to bring forth our best selves and to live from the highest degree of love. So we check in and we share our challenges and we support each other in the process. And besides the fact that we're mutually helping each other and supporting each other, I believe that the class is also learning skills on how to be with people and support people in their process. So it's a wonderful thing, and sometimes it goes on for a while, and that's perfect. I don't sit here and say from 10 a.m. to 10:45 we're going to do this. It just, when it's complete, it's complete. But we went around the circle last week, and there's, I believe, 7 in this class, and some of the things that came up. Today the title of my talk is Overcoming Life's Irritations. And it's amazing how we can be in that peaceful, loving space. We come from our heart, and then we can get irritated in this blink of an eye. Just something can just shift all that. And I do find that fascinating, because sometimes I really feel like I'm on a great roll and life is grand and everyone is just wonderful, and then all of a sudden, where did that go? And it's, so I'm not alone in that, and I suspect maybe you all can relate to that in some way, shape, or form. But some of the things that came up was, of course, the irritations. And one of the gals had shared something along the lines with internet password. And, couldn't find a password. And that to me is something that can be hugely annoying. I want to get onto a site and I can't find my password and I can't get on, and that can just make me lose it. Another thing is, I can remember a few years ago, we had a lady living with us, and she came walking in the house one day, and it was in the middle of the afternoon, and I am screaming. And I'm not a screamer. Ellen will say that. I'm pretty laid back most of the time, even when I'm angry. But I was screaming in the phone at this poor person and it was someone from AT&T, and they had just pushed me over the edge. They had charged me too much, and they wouldn't listen to me, and they wouldn't answer, and they were putting it all back on me, and that just really took my peace for quite a while. And Margaret comes walking in, and she was like, "Whoa," and she just kept walking. But it's interesting to see what does annoy us. I think we all have those little hot buttons, those things that tend to push our buttons, and usually they're not that big of a deal. When I look back, I'm like, really, you got that upset over that? And here you've got a wonderful friend who's very ill, or another friend is dealing with a bad situation, or something in my life is challenging, and somehow she's like, oh, well, that's I can choose peace, and I am at peace with this. But then, get me with those people on the phone, and that just shoots me off the top. So I guess we all have those little hot buttons. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. But another thing that came up was overwhelm. And, it just seems like right now the energy, if we're not really mindful, where people feel like they're just overwhelmed. There's not enough time in the day to do everything we have to do. And all these things keep happening that are just making us feel stressed and feel on edge. And I don't think any of us are alone in that as well. I think that's something that universally people are feeling. But I do feel like that everything on this planet is accelerating greatly and has been for a while. And so all these things are coming up. And it's not a bad thing. It just is what it is. We have to just make a decision of how we're going to respond to life. But another issue, grief. Grief is, it seems to me, and I don't think I'm alone in this either, a lot of people are leaving the planet, and weird stuff. It's not the typical, yes, I mean, we always had the tragedies and people would die, children would die, and, sometimes there'd be an untimely death for one reason or another, and someone would maybe get a terminal illness when it seemed like they were young. But it seems like now it's just everyone knows somebody or has someone close to them who's gone through a really serious life issue. And the grief and the pain of loss. Of course, we know that in truth there is no loss. Our souls are eternal, and really death is just a transition into another dimension. Yeah, we know that. I think we can all accept that. I'm not speaking to newbies here in spirituality, but I also believe that the loss of just that person in our life, and having the ability to pick up the phone and call someone up, or to just be with them, go out to have lunch, or to have that support. When you realize that may not be there, the grief is also very unsettling, and it's nothing to take lightly. But it's not to say that we don't acknowledge it and go through it. It's so often, I heard it years ago, someone said, well, I don't want to go to a person's funeral because I don't want to acknowledge the illusion of death. And, to me, it was like, well, it's not about that. It's really about the love and the support of those who are still here and the love that we shared while they were on this planet. And so these, there's a lot of suffering and pain and, as I said, grief and irritations. And what about this one? Not enough time. Where does the time go these days? I'm just fascinated at how quick the days are. And I always heard when I was younger, the years fly by when you get older. But boy, I don't know if they're flying by quick now. That's all I can say. But not enough time to accomplish all the things we want to do. And of course, I look at this as just part of the big plan, part of our spiritual awakening. We're moving on to really bigger and greater things. And I do know and I believe that at the core of my being. But sometimes I allow myself to get off track and get sucked into those life's irritations. Well, this little statement here I found interesting. It says, frenzy destroys our inner capacity for peace. It destroys the fruitfulness of our work because it kills the root of inner wisdom, which makes work fruitful. And, I find this pattern is, we've heard this over and over through our spiritual journey, is instead of being human doings, we're here to be human beings. We're here to be. And it's not about how many things we can accomplish, how much we can do and get done, but really being fully present in everything we do. That's the key. Bringing our full selves to each and every situation. Instead of sitting here and thinking, oh, I've got this other project, I'm thinking about something else when I'm in the middle of something. And I pay attention to that within myself because that's not where I want to come from. I really am focusing on allowing myself to take time to step back and say, okay, I choose peace. I don't have to think about that right now. Yesterday I did something that I don't do very often. There was a wonderful seminar with Sukha. Loved every minute of it in the morning. I was learning great stuff. And but at lunchtime I got a couple of calls and I just said, you know what, I have to go. I went home and I took a nap and I just chilled. The old Charlotte would have said, no, I'm going to tough it out and I'm going to dig in and I'm going to stay here. And I wanted to, but I also had to honor that part of me that just needed to step back and chill. And so I look at that for myself as being great progress because that's not the Shar of the past, I can promise you that. Now, how many of you guys, this one comes up a lot too, people pleasing. We spend our lives asking the question, what do people want me to do? What do they want me to be? But this is a betrayal of our own inner truth. We should be investing our lives in the pursuit of discovering who we are and what we were created to do. And so often, I feel like I've learned a lot in this personally. But in the past, it was always about what do other people think? What if I don't do what this person wants me to do? Or what will they think if I make this decision? And I'm grateful to say that one has come a long way. I really don't care anymore. As I said, and I don't mean that, that's really the highest degree of love we can come from. Because if we're too busy trying to make everybody else happy, do you know that the people you work the hardest to please are usually the ones who complain still the most? Have you found that in your own experience? So it's not about the other person. I think that this experience, we're here to be the best we can be, to come from the highest degree of love we can for ourselves. That means taking time to rest, exercise, eat well, all of these things that we can do to enrich our own lives. Because every time I do something for myself, then, since we're all one, everyone benefits by that gesture. If I'm doing people-pleasing, but I'm irritated about doing it, everybody gets that benefit, or lack of benefit as well. So it's really, again, the greatest thing we can do is to stay in our heart. And of course, these lessons continue and continue and continue. I think we get to ride the wave, and it's peaceful for a while, but then it comes back to being another big wave of lessons that comes in our face. So that's what we're here to do. If we had really mastered this life, we wouldn't need to be here. So everything really is in perfect order. Everything really has come here by our divine request. I love Carolyn Mace, her book, Sacred Contracts, which really is based on the idea that, you know, every contract, even though it's painful sometimes, that we have with another person is sacred. And it was brought in by a divine plan for our highest and best and our awakening. So when we can look at it and say, if I'm in the midst of all of this chaos and challenge, that if I could just step back and take a breath and know that there is a gift in this. Because if I'm getting caught up in it, I'm focusing on the illusion rather than the reality. And the reality is that centeredness, the peace, the love, and of course the eternal nature of all things. Anything that's temporal is not of God. What we're seeking is that eternal nature of peace and love and community and oneness. So I quote Abraham a lot, but I really do think that, you know, some of the teachings of Abraham are so, not some, all, they're really wonderful. And this one is very simple but profound. And it says, the universe is not punishing or blessing you. The universe is responding to the vibrational attitude that you are emitting. And so, you know, again, this is taking full responsibility for everything that's coming into our life experience. And so it's this world is but a reflection of my consciousness. It's just really a projection of what I think about it. And so when I think thoughts that give me a vibe of chaos and stress, of course, everyone's going to come back and mirror that back to me. And so when you see that we're not being punished or blessed, but rather we're just attracting what we're vibrating, that gives us a barometer of where we can go from there. And we don't have to attach to it. We don't have to feel bad about it or blame or defend. It's just getting back to that space of neutrality and inner peace. So again, the universe is not punishing or blessing us. You know, so much of spirituality of the past and religion has been based on guilt, that, oh, you must have been really something bad in a past life for this to happen. And I don't believe that's the case at all. I believe everything is divine and it's here and it comes right in front of us for our awakening and our healing. So as I said, this week's pretty quiet at the center, but last week we had a lot going on, and it was all good. It was fantastic, you know. And I came every night last week because you know, I love all these things, and I never get tired of them. And of course, the meditation on Monday nights is always wonderful, and whether it's a small group or a larger group, it's a real soul connection group, and we really do get a lot of great support and an opportunity to meditate together and be in that space, which is really beautiful. And of course, we went in Tuesday to Jim Norse's course, the first of 4 weeks, which we had an outstanding turnout for that. And it's this book, The Aloha Mind, is all about the Ho'oponopono teachings, the ancient Hawaiian forgiveness practice or Polynesian forgiveness practice. And I just find that so resonant and so compatible to everything that I've found on my journey, is that, again, everything out here is but a projection of my own thoughts about it. So as he said last week, and as I'll reiterate again, is we're here to clean, they call it a cleaning process, and that's to clean our consciousness. And we do that through a simple 4-line mantra, which is, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, and I love you. And he said if you want to just make it real simple, when we're watching the news, he gave us an exercise. He said, turn on the news, and when you see all the chaos happening, you know, and there's certainly a lot of struggle and strife in the world if we choose to see it that way, rather than attaching to it and judging it and then taking it in and feeling miserable about it, clean our own consciousness. And we really only have to say one line from that 4-line mantra, and that is, I love you. And when we do that, I like what he said about this, because he said, you don't even have to believe it'll work. You don't have to believe it, just do it. And I find that when I've used that practice a lot, I love to be reminded, because I've been studying Ho'oponopono and A Course in Miracles for a long time, but just that example, say I love you when these things come up, very powerful. And somehow, the more we do that, it just all melts away. That just allows everything to be still, and we can see beyond whatever we thought was happening. Because again, although the illusion gets mucky and nasty sometimes, it certainly is not the reality of who we are or who anyone else is. Well, I had an interesting experience. I think most of y'all know by now my past life was that of a golfer, and I had it as a career for many, many years. Started at age 7, and I haven't played in about 3 years, with the exception of sneaking out a few times here and there, but I really have no interest. But a friend of mine called me from Florida last week, and she said, well, my daughter, and this is a gal I grew up with in West Virginia, her daughter's now a world-class golfer in college, and they had the NCAA championships in Hickory. And so I drove up there on Friday. I hadn't seen Laura, my friend, in years. It was great to connect with her. But these kids, it's amazing how much better they are than we were. I mean, we were nothing compared to this. And it's so funny because I remember I played for Marshall University, and I actually, believe it or not, we had a very good team. And I remember we got 2 golf shirts. Our colors were green and white, and we got a white one and a green one, and that was our uniform. Well, now these kids, they are dressed in Lily Pulitzer, and they've got the most beautiful clothes and fancy golf bags, and their coach drives around on a golf cart with a duffel bag for each kid full of food, and so their favorite snacks. And I said, Laura, she goes to the store every night, and they give her a list of what they want on the golf course. So this one wants beef jerky, this one wants turkey jerky, this one wants Gatorade, this one wants water, whatever they want, they get. And I was like, man, we got the water out of the, tap there. That was about it. And then we had to bring our own banana if we wanted something else. But it was really great to see this, to sort of get back into that experience and to see these kids. And it was just great to see where that's evolved to. And it made me think, not only has golf evolved, all sports have evolved greatly. I think the mind training that they're doing with these kids now, and of course the technology is so far greater than what we had 35 years ago. It's really mind-boggling. But I also relate that to spiritual practice. I was thinking about this other night in A Course in Miracles, and when I started teaching A Course in Miracles 25 years ago, it was there was a lot of resistance to a lot of the ideas that were presented. People are like, that forgive? And what do you mean this is an illusion? And that just doesn't make any sense, and I don't buy that. Or that we're all in reality the same. That one didn't fly over real well at all, because we have this pride in spiritual superiority, or that we're in classes, and that because you have more money or more education or a better golf game or whatever, that somehow makes you a better person. But the fact that we're all one, some people couldn't buy that. And I'm not saying everyone buys it now, but I do see that the evolution of spirituality has been tremendous over the past 20 years. What used to be pretty uncommon teachings and beliefs are now pretty much in the mainstream. So that is encouraging to me. We can also say there's some people on the planet that would say, oh, the world's never been in worse shape. And so again, it's up to us. Which side of the aisle do we choose to focus on? Do I choose to clean my consciousness, forgive, bless, and love everything? Or do I want to focus on all the tragedies of the world? It's up to us. Well, someone made the statement, I think it was either in the Course in Miracles or the ADL class, and said, I thought this human walk was supposed to be fun. And guess what? It is. It is supposed to be fun, regardless of what's happening. I mentioned this a while back, but there's this little picture of these African boys, and they're standing out on the prairie, and they're just, they were talking to each other, and they were saying something along the lines of, well, did you hear that those kids in the United States, they have these phones or these boxes that they just look at and tap into all day, and they've got all this and that, and the other one says, oh, that sounds horrible, let's take up a donation for them. And it's like, so here they are in nature, they're connected to source, and they're happy, that you go to these places and they're just happy. It's a decision, it's a program. It's sometimes where we think we're so evolved and so wonderful. Back to the golf, it's a wonderful opportunity that these kids have to be able to play golf and to be so well taken care of, no doubt. But again, it's not a life or death situation when they, for some of them it is, unfortunately, but it's not meant to be a life or death situation when they get off. If they play bad, their mood goes down the tubes and they get angry and they slam their clubs down, or if they play good, they're elevated. I think that mastery in any sport or any life skill is to be able to be neutral and not get emotionally invested whether or not the stock market is reaping great rewards or tanking one day. That's what we're here to do, is to be able to stay centered. And we can do that through spiritual practice. We have to practice, though. And when things come up that are challenging, rather than attaching to it, take that pause, take that deep breath and say, I choose peace instead of this. Well, in the Course in Miracles, lesson 31 says, I am not the victim of the world I see. The next lesson follows up and says, I've invented the world I see. That's another thing that Ho'oponopono talks about, is projection. And the Course in Miracles talks about that as well. If I'm not a victim of the world, and back to the Abraham, we're not being punished or blessed. It just is. So all of it begins with me. The mantra that we sing every Sunday, let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me. We have to always go back to that centered place. Well, the one good thing is when we see ourselves or feel like we're victims, as I said a moment ago, rather than attaching to it, getting all upset, take that breath and say there is another way of looking at this. And then the next lesson says, I can see peace instead of this. And I promise you, if you practice it, instead of just playing the tape of misery over and over, you'll accomplish peace. I know people who are doing it every day. I see it every day. Mary, you've been a tremendous example of that. Your life is not, by the world's standards, too wonderful right now. But you just keep a smile on your face and the peace in your heart, and it's been a real blessing for me to witness that. It really has. And it's the Course in Miracles says that if people are saying, well, why can't we just wake up? And the Course in Miracles loosely says, I always quote it loosely, but it says that basically if we were to wake up, it would shock our system so much, because we are so entangled. We don't have a glimpse of what enlightenment really is or what heaven is. So if we just went from this to enlightenment, we'd probably all freak out and be so freaked out and afraid, just like if the aliens came, it'd be like, oh, it's kind of like we have to do it step by step, little by little. But it is a process and it's a practice. And just like back to golf, when I practiced my golf, I was very vigilant. I practiced every day. I was devoted. I was dedicated. I took lessons. I learned the skills. And I reaped the rewards of that. Same thing now. I don't practice. I don't play. And I can't imagine what I would look like out there right now. But it doesn't matter, because this is what I'm choosing to devote my practice to at this time. So we have to be vigilant for the kingdom of God, for the peace of God. And when we are, we reap great rewards. So one thing is when I was in my coaching, and this is where, it was all about meeting with people, really helping people find their purpose and their passion and what they love to do. And then making a game plan to make it happen. And I've mentioned this a number of times, and this stuff works. It really does work. But it's now not about an external goal for me. It's an internal goal. It's a goal of peace and harmony and walking in faith and confidence in God's will. And also, when you look at your calendar, if you were to see mine, there's not much time there that I've taken in the past for myself. And I used to, first thing I would tell people, put yourself first in your calendar, no one else will. And you know, we teach what we need to learn, right? But that's still something I give myself credit, because I'm not going to beat myself up. I know better. But it's something we all have to pay attention to every day, to take that time to be in nature, to have fun, be in joy, get away. The world's not, it will be just fine without you for a few hours or a day or two. And so put yourself first in your calendar. I think that's so important. And honor that. Take a couple of days where you don't plug into technology. I know Donna, who leads the meditation group, she did a 10-day silent retreat recently in Joshua Tree, California. I said, that has got to be amazing. No technology, you don't talk, you just be in nature. You eat with other people and you don't say a word. You just bless everything. And I think that that's such a powerful, I wonder how I would do with that. I'm going to try, I'm going to do that one day. I'm going to do that. I'm going to put that on my calendar, and I'm going to do that. But anyway, we need to seek peace and we need to pursue it, because that's ultimately, it's not the golf game, it's not the bank account, it's not the wardrobe. It's really, we think those things are going to give us what we're looking for, but what we're really seeking is joy and peace. And there's nothing in this